the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants. So Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
I mean, he's a beauty. I mean, Chris is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, big personality. I think that he's, super. Just having that veteran presence is not just good for the pitching staff, but good for the whole clubhouse. I mean, he brings energy every day. He's a bulldog out there, and I think he's going to be a huge addition for us, especially not just in the regular season, but especially when we make that playoff stretch and that playoff run. I think having his experience and his just knowledge, just vast baseball knowledge from his experience is going to be huge. He's a great personality. He's a great human being. He's going to fit really well with this group of guys for sure.
That was Pete Alonso this morning. Thank you to the Baltimore Banner for that, as Pete Alonso reacting to the addition of his former teammate, Chris Bassitt, who now joins the Baltimore Orioles. It's technically not official yet, which is really uncomfortable because Craig Albernes was meeting with the media, and apparently they were asking him about Chris Bassitt, and Craig Albernes was like, "Who? I don't know who you're discussing," which is a weird bit. But a vibe shift, obviously, for the Baltimore Orioles, as yesterday when we were discussing the team, we were talking about kind of the negative energy that surrounded the fact that Jordan Westberg is banged up and Jackson Holliday is going to miss time, and they didn't get a pitcher and all that, so they were able to change the vibes a little bit by adding someone, and that's sort of the best way to discuss Chris Bassitt. Chris Bassitt, legally speaking, is someone. He's a pitcher. And there are positives that come with Chris Bassitt. Positives including he's pitched a lot in the American League East. He makes his starts. He has had great success against, the New York Yankees, for example. The last 2 years have not been as good as the 3 or 4 prior to that for Chris Bassitt, but even that hasn't been dreadful. You still pitched to a sub-4 ERA a year ago. The whip was a little bit elevated. Chris Bassitt is a qualified major league starter. For those that care about the economics of a deal, it's a 1-year deal, right? And this is the historic, there is no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. And to some extent, that's true in a vacuum. There's no real way, if you only look at Chris Bassitt, to say this is bad for the Orioles. No, there's no way to do that. You want to look at the total picture and what they didn't do, and whether Chris Bassitt makes up for it. That's a completely different conversation, and it's all relevant. Looking at it just through the lens of Chris Bassitt is what we can do for a minute and say this is good. Where does Chris Bassitt actually slot in? That remains to be determined. We think it's Bradish 1, Rogers 2. Then it's some combination of Bassitt, Boz, Kramer, and Eflin when healthy. What that actually ends up being, we don't actually know. But it's some combination of those 4 dudes for 3 rotation spots right now, and presumably removes Tyler Wells from that equation, although who knows? And obviously you have to see how healthy all these guards are, particularly Eflin, as you get into the start of the regular season. As I said the last couple of days, while Chris Bassitt isn't a top-of-the-rotation pitcher, and none of the guys that were left were, the only one that you could argue would be Gallen. And so if you want to say, hey, of the options, I'm disappointed it's not Gallen, because I think there was a chance of him getting to that point. In that qualification that he's not what the Orioles needed, I'm still okay with it. They also needed to improve the back end of their rotation. You need 8 to 9 starters. You need it to be that when you get to a point where you need a 6th starter, it's not Cade Povich and you're hoping this is the time it works. Although, God bless him, I hope the Cade Povich still works. And I still hope that Brandon Young proves to be a thing. And whatever role Albert Suarez, if he has to make a start at some point, I hope he's able to do it. The point being,
hopefully in Toronto on 15 minutes notice.
There you go, right?
That's the hope.
I just want to have better options. Chris Bassitt is a better option. It does not mean that the Orioles nailed it. And it does not mean that they're smarter than everybody else because they didn't give away a big contract. I promise you, while maybe one of these big pitching contracts that was given out is not going to work, I promise you at least one of them will work. It's this notion that you're smarter than everybody else. You don't have to do it that way. Well, maybe. We'll find out, right? I mean, we'll find out. And spare me there's better pitchers available next year. We can just keep doing this forever. Is there going to be a season next year?
You jumped on board.
Is Adley Rutschman going to be an Oriole next year? Is everyone going to have regressed and the Orioles are going to have to reset the way that they look at everything? Spare me the next year stuff. And also, in what world do you see an organization that has still never given out multi-year big-time pitching deals suddenly deciding next year is the year they're like, that's when we've got to do it. We've got to do it next year. So spare me all of that stuff because it is relevant that the Orioles didn't address the top of their rotation as they needed to. But it doesn't mean that signing Chris Bassitt is a bad thing. We're going to find out more about Chris Bassitt in a second. Kevin Pillar is going to join us, former Blue Jays outfielder, now a Sportsnet analyst and part of the Foul Territory Network. He'll check in with us in just a minute. Later in the program, Patrick Stevens will join us, as he always does. On Thursdays, we'll talk Terps. They got a nice win over Iowa last night. Maybe everything is coming up Maryland. Maybe. Andre Mills certainly is a positive. There's no doubt about that, and the piece that perhaps Maryland can build around moving forward. We will also, later on in the program, check in with our friend Paul Cantabene, and we will discuss his team, Stevenson, as they get ready to open their season on Saturday night. Now, really quickly, you probably are aware that I had the opportunity to catch up with John Harbaugh. I appreciated that the former Ravens head coach, now the head coach of the Giants, spent some time with me. That interview is going to air on my show on WBAL on Friday night. We have been getting some clips of it up, and I think WBAL posted the full interview on their YouTube page and on their website. And we will share a few of them later on in the show. Appreciate, this is the weird thing about working in multiple places, is that it required like cross network. Just working together is the way that I would describe it. Griffin had to help. Some folks over there had to help. A lot going on in order to pull all of it off, but appreciate all of them and appreciate all of you that have given feedback. I enjoyed the conversation. I thought it was a really good conversation with John Harbaugh. It got testy a couple of times, as conversation with John Harbaugh sometimes do, and I appreciate that as well. I appreciate his passion. I think everybody knows I happen to like John Harbaugh. I think John Harbaugh is a very good football coach. I think it was time. I think John Harbaugh might think that it was time. And if you want to watch that interview before it airs tomorrow night, as I said, go to WBAL Radio's YouTube page, and you can find it there. We've linked it out on Facebook and on Twitter, so you can check it out in those places as well. And, of course, tune in tomorrow night, the Glenn Clark Show on WBAL from 7 to 11. I believe it will be airing in full at 7:30 and 10:30 p.m. So there's everywhere you can find the interview with John Harbaugh from WBAL, and appreciated, John. I like the answers. We'll talk a little bit more about it later on in the program. Today's show is brought to you by Leading Edge Auto Body. Your car is more than just a ride. It's an investment. At Leading Edge Auto Body in Mount Washington, they spent over 20 years perfecting the art of repair. From high-end imports to your trusted daily driver, they handle all makes and models with elite precision. Their team holds the highest honors in the industry, including ASE Master, iCar Platinum, and specialized aluminum certifications, and make it easy with free towing, pickup, and delivery. Because at Leading Edge, customer satisfaction comes first. And remember, with insurance, it's your car and it's your choice. Choose the experts, Leading Edge Auto Body, quality you can see, service you can trust. Go to leadingedgeautobody.com today. We had to do this a little bit before the show, but the opportunity to talk more about the newest Baltimore Oriole, Chris Bassitt, with a former Toronto Blue Jay, Kevin Pillar, right here on GCR. And, of course, the Orioles did make the move last night to acquire one more pitcher, Chris Bassitt, signing a one-year deal. Let's find out a little bit more about what the Orioles are getting in Chris Bassitt. He is not only a former Blue Jays and Major League outfielder, he is now with not only Sportsnet in Canada, but also hosts the Bluebird Territory show as part of the Foul Territory Network. He is Kevin Pillar, and he is with us here on GCR. Kevin, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, no problem. Just dropped my son off. I usually try to make a lot of my phone calls when I'm in the car commuting back home, so it worked out perfectly.
I appreciate that, man. Kevin, before we talk about Chris Bassitt, I remember hating you, all right? And I say that respectfully. For some reason, I have not been able to look up the numbers to make sure I'm right about this, but I swear to God, it always felt like you killed the Orioles. And I know that part of that is because you faced some bad Orioles teams in there, and a lot of people did. But am I accurate about that? Like, do I have that memorized correctly, that you were always in my nightmares?
I think it is accurate. I think part of it is accurate. I think I did kill the Orioles, but I wouldn't say I competed against some bad teams. I think about, 2014.
That's true.
And 2015 was my first full year. 14, I was up and down. But, I mean, we're talking about, a back end of the bullpen of Kevin Gosman, or back end of the bullpen of Zach Britton, Brad Brock, Michael Givens. Tommy Hunter was there. I wouldn't say they were bad teams by any stretch of the imagination. You had Chris Tillman at his prime. You had a young Dylan Bundy, Ubaldo Jimenez. They had some guys. Obviously we competed against them a couple of years in the postseason. So I definitely wouldn't say they were bad teams, but I did have my way with the Baltimore team for whatever reason.
Hated that. As it's been confirmed to me, you hit 322 and OPS 877 against the Orioles in your career. Son of a
man,
bitch.
I wish we played them more.
Right?
We should have played them more games.
How did we never get you
19 games
here?
a year. Right? 19 games a year wasn't enough. I needed more like 50 games a year, and maybe I'd still be playing.
This is going to be a dumb guy question. Is there any way to explain that? Is that just the luck of baseball? And obviously you were a hell of a player, so I'm not trying to suggest you didn't have other success against other teams, but is there any way to explain why, just against one team? We talk about it all the time with Ryan Mountcastle against the Blue Jays, right? That for some reason things just work out really well against one particular opponent.
Yeah, I don't think you could really explain it. I mean, I think that you could explain it off a particular guy, and then, sometimes there are organizations that have certain pitching philosophies, and they have a lot of guys that maybe have the same sort of repertoire of pitches, and maybe that lines up with what you do. But teams don't really operate like that anymore. You're just trying to get the best arms. You're trying to get, a variety of different type of arms to just kind of make your matchups as a hitter so tough. Think about what the Blue Jays have done in this offseason, going out and getting a Tyler Rogers, just to kind of add a different look. You got to Trey Savage, and then you might have to face a Tyler Rogers. That's kind of been the new way of try to put together a bullpen. So no, to answer your question, there really isn't a rhyme or reason. It just worked out that way that I had good numbers there. Unfortunately, at the time, we still got to play them a lot of times. So kind of inflated my numbers overall a little bit, which I'm thankful for.
Well, I for the sake of this, I'm going to put aside my hatred for you, Kevin Pillar, and appreciate the fact that you were willing to take the time. Kevin, the Orioles, obviously, the fan base wanted an ace this offseason, and Chris Bassitt certainly does not qualify as that. But what are the Orioles getting in Chris Bassitt at this point in his career?
Yeah, I mean, first we could talk about the human being, a tremendous human being, incredible teammate. He's going to make that clubhouse better. I think the addition of a guy like Pete Alonso, who I played with too, and a guy like Chris Bassitt that, I've been around, have a lot of close friends in baseball that were teammates of his, and just speak so highly of what he brings every single day as a competitor, as a teammate, as a student of the game. From the pitching side, I did read a statistic yesterday. I can't remember the exact numbers and how long it was over. Let's just call it over the last 5-6 years. He's top 10. I think number 8 was the number in innings pitched and games started. So this is a guy who's very durable. He's a guy who takes the ball every 5th day. Does he have the ace stuff? No, but he has command of 5, 6, 7, 8 pitches. He's a true pitcher. He's someone who can just change speeds and locate. Does he have the dominant stuff? No, but he is going to keep you in every game he starts. He's durable. He's going to eat innings for you. And I think what the Orioles potentially saw in him, too, is what the world saw last year on the biggest stage. And Chris Bassitt was one of the Blue Jays' 5 starters throughout the entire year. Then comes Trey Savage, the activation of Shane Bieber. Chris Bassitt kind of gets pushed aside. And as opposed to kind of pouting about it and being a bad teammate, he sits out the first 2 rounds of the postseason, keeps himself ready, stays in shape, and then for the last 2 rounds, they use him out of the bullpen. And not only does he pitch out of the bullpen, he's pitching high-leverage innings out of the bullpen and was outstanding out of the bullpen last year. So I think the Baltimore Orioles know that they're getting a guy that is durable. He can start games. Yeah. And if the Orioles happen to have 5 better starters than them that stay healthy throughout the year, which you and I both know it's going to take way more than 5 starters to get through an entire season, you just go put him out in the bullpen. His velocity goes up a little bit. His ability to pitch doesn't change, and he's not afraid of the big moment.
All that is really well said. Kevin Pillar with us here on GCR. I think that he just pitches is the biggest part of this to me. That you're not bringing in someone who you're particularly worried is only going to make half of the starts. You can expect that this guy's going to go out there every 5th day.
Yeah, and it's invaluable for a team that has some pitchers that have some injury history. You have some guys coming back from injury. I love what Baltimore did this offseason. And I could say that, yes, I'm not an employee of the Blue Jays. Do I support the Blue Jays? Absolutely. Do I talk about the Blue Jays on Blue Board territory? Absolutely. But I love what Baltimore was able to do. I love what that division's becoming again, and has always been. I think Baltimore definitely took a step back last year, obviously through some injuries. Did they need to go out and acquire that ace that, a lot of people were hoping that they did? I don't know. When I look at their rotation as it sits even before the Bassitt move, I'm like, wow, that's a really deep rotation. Do they have a true quote-unquote ace? No. But do they have a lot of quality starting pitching? Absolutely. And I think even before this Bassitt move, the way that, their rotation was shaken out, I think you have a guy in Zach Eflin who's your 5th starter. I mean, I'd take that any day if Zach Eflin's my 5th starter.
Again, that seems like, and Dean Kramer's in the mix, the back end of the rotation. As much as we're disappointed that they maybe didn't upgrade the top of the rotation, I do think it's quite valuable that they've upgraded the back end of their rotation so that, to your point, when somebody does get hurt, because we know that's the way that it works, you're not turning to someone that shouldn't be starting for a good team in July of a team that's trying to compete to go somewhere. You're turning instead to a veteran, whoever that would be the next guy out, whether that's Eflin or Kramer or whoever it is. That's a much better situation for the Orioles to be in.
Yeah, and obviously aces don't come cheap. right? But what you can do when you're not willing to go out or get outbid on, top of the free agent market when it comes to starting pitching is you just acquire a lot of depth. And I think the Blue Jays, with the news of Shane Bieber, not ready to start the season, they put themselves in a position through depth that they're going to be able to carry on at the beginning of the season with some quality depth arms. You got a guy in Eric Lauer who's able to kind of be this Swiss Army knife who could start and go back and forth. You got a guy in Jose Barrios who, was your opening day starter last year, who probably was the odd man out in the rotation, maybe a guy they were looking to maybe move on from, maybe trade. Now he slides in the rotation. It's exactly what the Baltimore Orioles were able to do this offseason, just make good acquisitions. I'm a big fan of Shane. How do you pronounce his last name?
Boz, yeah.
Baez?
Yeah, Boz.
Boz?
Yep.
I'm a big fan of what he's able to do. Obviously, coming from that pitching factory in Tampa, the guy obviously knows how to pitch. He's had a little bit of injury history, but I think that's a huge upgrade in their rotation. And then, what you got out of Rodgers last year is what I think everyone's expected for a long time. I faced him probably 3, 4, 5 years ago when he was with Miami, when he was kind of climbing the ranks, and he was nasty. He had, high velocity fastball, unique arm slot, unbelievable changeup. And once again, it takes some guys, and not everyone's going to come up to the major leagues and be ready to dominate right away. You have to kind of go take your licks, maybe bounce around from a team or two, find an organization like Baltimore that obviously clicked with him, that has maybe a different way of thinking about pitching, maybe some mechanical adjustments here and there. But you have to be very optimistic of what you saw over his last, 10, 15 starts last year. You got to think that's the guy we're getting this year.
Kevin, how valuable is it that Chris Bassitt has pitched so many games in the AL East and has really had a lot of success against the AL East? It's kind of ironic talking about the success that you had against the Orioles. Bassitt has dominated the Yankees in his career. He's got a career ERA of 3.79 against the AL East. How important is that, and do you feel like that can translate no matter where he is?
Yeah, I think it absolutely translates no matter where he pitches, because when you talk about those numbers, yes, he might have been wearing a Blue Jay uniform for most of it, but he's also pitching on the road in these stadiums. He obviously has a comfort pitching in those AL East stadiums against these AL East teams, and some of that stuff's just kind of unexplainable. Sometimes you just kind of have your way against certain teams in certain divisions. Him obviously spending a lot of time with the Blue Jays over the last couple of years, only strengthens those numbers. But you think about some of the teams that he's going up against. The Yankees, have some swing and miss. The Red Sox have some swing and miss. Baltimore had some swing and miss for a while. I think it just speaks to a little bit of his pitching style and his pitching philosophy, being able to, pinpoint and also change speed. So I think a lot of it has to do with, sometimes teams in certain divisions kind of have an identity. And I think teams in the AL East over the last, handful of years, have an identity of a ton of power. There's some swing and miss there. So I think that kind of fits into what he's able to do as a pitcher.
By the way, those numbers against the Yankees, 5-2 with an ERA of 2.06 in 9 career starts against the Yankees. May that continue moving forward for Chris Bassitt. Kevin, we bring up, obviously, the Orioles didn't get an ace. The Blue Jays did, right? They were very aggressive in going after Dylan Cease. And I've referenced the Blue Jays a lot this offseason because I think there's a parallel where it feels like the Blue Jays knew they had to overpay. They had to pay kind of a tax to go get Dylan Cease because of the uniqueness of being in Toronto and trying to convince players to come there. And I look at the Orioles, who have not drafted pitchers and have chosen to go with bats when they've had high picks every time. And I've wondered if they needed to pay a tax as well. They ultimately chose not to dive into those waters and did not land one of those top guys. What did you make of what was perceived as an overpay for Dylan Cease? And maybe we don't feel that way as quite as much as we watch the market unfold. But is it good business? Is it smart for an organization to say, hey, if that's what it takes, we've got to do that to make sure we get the guy, even if that might not be his market value?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Toronto has been in the market for, arguably the last three big free agents over the last 3 years, starting back with Shohei and then Juan Soto. And then you could put Dylan Cease at the top of that starting pitching class. And I think history has just shown recently that in order to attract a free agent to come to Toronto, which, and if you ask anyone who's played in Toronto, people love playing there. Absolutely love playing there. Once you get there, you love it. As a visiting player, you love it. When you think about being there for a long period of time, it has some question marks. Not because people don't love it, but it is a different country. Taxes are really high, playing in Canada. There's a lot of reasons why players would rather play somewhere else. Not to say they don't love Toronto, but, when you're a free agent, you have the right to choose where you want to play, especially when you're one of those top-end free agents. I think we saw that with Kyle Tucker. When the numbers came out, Toronto was willing to give him the most amount of money. He chose to be in L.A. At the end of the day, you can't really persuade someone to come to your market. What you can do as an organization is overpay. And with Dylan Cease, was it a slight overpay? I think history is going to, tell us if it's an overpay or not.
Right.
But I think teams like Baltimore, which you wouldn't put up there in a handful of top destinations for players to want to go play, when you think about places like San Diego and Los Angeles and these other markets that just appear to be better places to play, it's something that Baltimore is probably going to have to do if they're going to want to jump into those waters of getting a top-end free agent, especially on the starting pitching side. I think you could say the same thing for going out and getting Pete Alonso. Did they have to overpay for them? I think they had to overpay for him in terms of what potentially the Mets were offering him. But I think history is going to tell itself. Was it an overpay? Was it an underpay? It might be a steal after 5 years of what they paid Pete Alonso on the market. Same goes for Dylan Cease. But, I think you have to be willing as an organization to at least consider what is an overpay, or maybe it's be the highest bidder. Maybe that's a different way of kind of presenting it. Maybe it's an extra year. Maybe it's a couple extra $1 million on top of the existing deal that, kind of is being floated out there. These organizations are really smart. They know kind of a ballpark where these other teams are going to kind of be at. If you're one of these markets that isn't considered desirable, or you need to kind of throw something a little additional to kind of push this deal across the finish line, it's what you have to do in today's world.
And then I'll wrap with it because you bring up Pete Alonso, and obviously you mentioned your time with him. I've talked to a lot of guys that played with Pete who love Pete, but acknowledge that his role in New York was never to be like the guy, to be the clubhouse leader, the guy that demands accountability. And I've gotten the sense that that's sort of kind of what's expected of Pete Alonso now arriving in Baltimore and signing the type of deal that he did, that he's the guy that demands accountability. Can you see him being that guy in a new place, in a new role for a young Orioles team that seemed to lack that real significant veteran presence the last couple of years?
I think he is the perfect guy for the job. One, he's a guy who plays every single day. He posts every day. So with that comes a lot of respect from your teammates. If I'm his teammate and I see him going out there struggling, potentially not 100%, that automatically has my respect. Someone who's willing to go out there every single day, never wants an off day, never, complains, never asks to come out of the lineup, that demands respect. Two, he was never asked to be the guy in New York in terms of being the leader in the clubhouse, but by default, sometimes he was the guy. He was the center of the attention in the lineup. He has the accolades, two-time home run derby champ, multiple-time All-Star, multiple-time Silver Slugger. That comes with a lot of respect when you walk into a clubhouse as well. And then lastly, he was in New York for a long time. He saw a transition of who was the guy, who was the leader. And I think with that, when you're not asked to be that guy, I think you learn from those leaders before you the things that you loved about him, the things that you didn't agree with, the things that you would have done differently. And then you get thrusted into this role of being a leader in a new clubhouse, and you take all those things that you love that leader X did and things that leader Y did you didn't agree with, and then you get to kind of create your own leadership style. I think Pete is going to be a great leader for that organization. Does he have to be the vocal leader all the time? Possibly not. Is his voice going to be heard when he speaks? Absolutely. But I think leadership is also done by showing up every day, working hard, willing to help your teammates. And I think I think the world has even seen it, where the Baltimore fans are even seeing it in day one. You know, I saw reports about him, you know, being out there when he didn't have to be out there doing PFPs, wanting to get to know his pitchers, having conversations with his pitchers, you know, being a cheerleader when he wasn't hitting during live BP, you know, being able to talk to his pitcher and catcher about what he saw from his pitchers during his time taking his at-bats. That's leadership to me. It doesn't always have to be this raw, you know, behind the scenes in the clubhouse being vocal, but just being there for his teammates, wanting them all to be the best version of themselves, and ultimately wanting to win is what Pete Alonso is going to bring for that organization.
Kevin Pillar, man, it's great to meet you, and appreciate that you would put up with the fact that I had to tell you that I hated you for a while. I really appreciate that you didn't just hang up the phone and say, what the hell am I doing with these guys?
That is, I think, the ultimate sign of respect sometimes as a player, when a fan base or an organization doesn't like you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in the process of you know, it's going to be launching here in March, a podcast called To the Majors. It's a retired platform for athletes to kind of share their stories, share their journey. And you hear that a lot from a lot of these players that open up about whether it was a dislike for me being on the other side and then you team up with them, or like, wow, I love being his teammate, or just guys that they played with in the league. And I think that's just a sign of respect that a guy on the opposing team is doing things that is making it difficult on my team to be successful. And then you get a chance to be teammates with those guys and you're like, man, I love this guy. So I don't take that as a sign of disrespect. I take that as a sign of respect, and it's a compliment.
I appreciate that. At KPillar4 is how you follow him. And as we mentioned, Bluebird Territory is the show as part of the Foul Territory Network. Kevin, thank you for taking the time for us this morning. Hey, please give our best to Anthony Santander, who we still love, and it's killing me to see what's happened for him up there, because he's one of the best dudes there is, period. So please, if you bump into him, pass along the love that we still have for him down here.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you again to Kevin Pillar, who did murder the Orioles during the course of his career, but appreciate him taking the time. And obviously, as you can tell, he's very high on not only Chris Bassitt, but where the Orioles are on the whole. And again, I think there's a lot to like about the mid to back end of the Orioles rotation. It's dramatically better than it has been. The questions are still, can Kyle Bradish really be a full season ace after pitching 70 total innings over the last 2 years? Can Trevor Rogers replicate what he did a year ago? That will go a long way, those two questions, to determining what the Orioles are capable of doing pitching-wise. But yes, obviously the rest of the rotation is much better. All right, let's switch gears as we continue along here on a Thursday edition of the program. Joining us now, you know him from Blue Ribbon, you know him from USA Lacrosse Magazine, and Patrick Stevens. Is there anything else that we can promote or plug for you yet?
Not at the moment, although it's interesting you bring up Anthony Santander. I have a little bit of history there, too. He is the guy that hit the foul ball that destroyed my laptop.
That's right. I do remember that. We really like Anthony Santander. I don't know if I can reach out to him about maybe like restitution. I don't know.
I don't think that. I think we're well past that. But that was in part me working a game the day after the Lacrosse Final Four and not being sharp and all that stuff. But I just emailed you the tweet from then. If you ever wanted to see what happens if a closed laptop gets hit by a foul ball, what the screen looks like, it's pretty tremendous, really. I mean, as long as it doesn't happen to you.
I just retweeted it for anybody that doesn't. You can go to our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio and you can check it out there. It is destroyed. It is done. There is no coming back from it. Do you want to take a stab at Kevin Pillar, by the way? Because it's an outrageous number of teams. Do you have any interest in giving it a shot?
he ended up with what, like 6 or 7 in the end?
I think it was more than that. Hang on, let me double check. He ended up with 10 teams.
Kevin Pillar played for 10 teams?
10 teams when it was all said and done.
All right, well, he obviously spent the bulk of his career in Toronto.
That is correct.
Right?
Everywhere else, there was not another multi-year stop in there.
Okay.
And it ranges from 156 games the most to 4 the fewest.
Wow. He was at both of the LA's teams, right?
He indeed was. The Dodgers was the 4-team appearance. Well
That's what
done.
I thought. Like,
well done.
Like right at the end. Was he in Tampa for a little bit?
No, never at Tampa.
He was never in Tampa. Okay.
Yeah, this was outrageous.
I mean, yeah, it is outrageous. I know that. I'm vaguely feeling like he was in Colorado or something.
He was indeed in Colorado for 24 games.
For 24 games, yes. I mean, I'm not feeling great about any of these things, obviously.
No, but these are good pulls.
Okay, so what? I've got 4 out of 5 so far with 5 guesses left.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know.
That's fine.
I mean,
That's
this is. I'll throw a few darts just for the heck of it. Okay, Atlanta.
Yeah, there was in Atlanta for 81 games.
Okay, dart throw on Kevin Pillar for Detroit.
Never in Detroit. No, never in Detroit.
No. Maybe the Mets.
The Mets, indeed, where he was teammates with Pete Alonso, as we were talking just a minute ago.
Okay.
124 games.
Okay, I thought he did. I was thinking I was vaguely remembering that.
Griffin, you got to wait for Tachik to tap out for you to tap in. Okay. Yeah, Griffin,
I've already won this, right? Like,
this is a massive victory. Oh, are you kidding me? This is outrageous. You remembered his 4-game stint. Stop.
I definitely I just remember him. It was right at the end. It was from like the Angels to the Dodgers, right?
I think it was actually. You know what? The Dodgers was in 22, and he was still employed through last year.
Okay. I don't know. The White Sox, maybe? That feels like a team that might have taken a...
Ow. How do you remember there was a 17-game stint with the White Sox?
I don't remember. I'm guessing. I told you. These are all dart throws at this point.
Absurd.
So what is this? Is that 7 or 8?
Yeah, I think it's 7. My God. Hang on. There's 1, 2, 3 left. Yeah, there's 3 left.
Okay, so I'm 7 of 9 at this point.
This is insane.
Okay, the Cardinals.
No, all right, Griffin.
Okay.
Did you remember any of the others?
He was a Giant.
He was
right?
a Giant. Yes, he was a Giant for 156. And then for 30 games, he was a Boston Red Sox.
What?
And he was in Texas for 20 games as well.
No, he wasn't.
You know, I was like Texas was one of the other spots I was vaguely
Texas
thinking.
was actually last year. That was where it ended last year, was in Texas. All right, Patrick Stevens, if you were reading one book a month on the history of Maryland athletics, where would you start and how quickly would you tap out?
Well, the first book to read, I think, especially if I was the Maryland basketball coach and wanted to understand like the sort of baseline type of thing here of everything with the program, I would choose Lenny Lefty and the Chancellor by C. Fraser Smith. The Len Bias Tragedy and the Search for Reform in Big Time College Basketball.
I don't think I've ever read that book. I think I need to put that on my list now. Lenny Lefty and the Chancellor. All right, I'm going to make sure that that's next on my list because I've never read it before.
Okay.
I think it's good that Buzz Williams met with the media the other day. I think it's obviously nice. They've won a couple of games this week. I thought it was odd how defiant he was, but I think, that's sort of what Buzz Williams is. Like, I think the most truthful thing he said in there is that he's done exactly as much in the community as he's done at any of his other stops. Yes, I think that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has. And I'm not here to attack or defend on that sort of front, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know me, I'm here more to talk more about the basketball end of things. But, he has his pet causes, as we all do, right? And they have been consistently the same throughout. He has his Buzz's Bunch thing. I think it's fair to say that when you look at what he's done everywhere, he has done the same thing. I can't disagree with that. He's going to do things on his terms. And that's just how it is. I think if you're Maryland, you have less of an excuse to say, why are you doing things this way than if you had been at, Marquette or even at Virginia Tech. But he's not a guy that's likely to change a whole lot. Let's put it that way. He's going to operate the way he wants to operate. I think those are the exact words I used last week. I really can't think of a better way to put it at this stage.
The emergence of Andre Mills is proving to be a significant storyline because we know that there's nothing that's likely going to happen before the year is over that's significant, but in trying to draw a path forward for what Maryland could be next year, if Andre Mills is a significant part of that and what we're seeing is him taking that step forward, that does seem to be notable.
I think it is. And even back early in the season, and he had a nice little stretch in November too, the thing that stood out about him, maybe more so than other guys on that team, was that, and I would use Pharrell Payne as an exception there too, because he definitely fit this as well. Like Andre Mills throughout the season, whether he shot well or shot poorly or played well or played poorly, he's been a guy that's kind of understood the assignment and kind of understands what his own skill set is. And so watching him early in the season, it was not hard to imagine, like, all right, this guy can, a bit of a slasher, can knock down an outside shot from time to time, not as much as he has been of late, but you would kind of looking at that, it's like, you could see a good team being able to use a guy like that. And so, this is a guy that didn't play at all last year and has had a chance to get force-fed a bunch of minutes. And ultimately, I think one of the things that's helped him is he's been one of the guys that's managed to stay healthy this season. So, those minutes have been there throughout, and he's showing signs of getting better. And obviously a guy that followed Buzz Williams from Texas A&M makes you think that he's somebody that's sort of invested in the process and might be a little less likely to leave than some others. And with 3 more years of eligibility left, he's not like some of the older guys on the team that aren't going to be here next year one way or the other, regardless of whether they want to be. So I would agree that Mills' emergence here, and obviously had a fine game last night, just as a really energetic, frankly, Buzz Williams kind of player. When you think about the kinds of guys that he's trotted out at all of his stops, there's usually been a few of those guys, if not a lot of those guys, that are just like running around all over the floor and are arguably as active as Buzz is on the sideline, which obviously is its own little adventure watching that game within the game.
Any thoughts at all on Maryland's pursuit of Kyrie Walker?
No.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. Let me discuss the 3 teams that we've been discussing a lot locally, and those 3 teams, of course, being Navy, UMBC, and Morgan State, who all kind of keep rolling. And I think we're deep enough into the season that we have to treat all of them as though they are viable, contenders for the NCAA tournament.
Well, certainly we have to do that with Navy, right? They're now 20-6 after beating Bucknell and on Monday, and they keep basically manhandling people. 16-9, 15-16. After a slow start against BU, they came back and won by 8, beat Army by 28, beat Holy Cross by 17. They're a team that's rolling, and they could more or less put the Patriot League regular season title away on Saturday when they go up to Colgate. Right now they're 2 up on Colgate with 5 to go. If they're 3 up with 4 to go, with another game against Colgate at home, that would be not insurmountable, but close to it, I think, for the Raiders. So Navy doing what it's supposed to do, playing fantastic defense, and clearly the favorite to go ahead and make that first NCAA tournament berth since 1998. There's obviously 3 games in March that have to be won, but you have to respect a great deal just how good Navy has been since the start of December.
The Morgan State, the MEAC doing the weird bit where they only play 1 game a week because there's so few teams left in the league at this point. But they look like they're as good as anybody else in the league right now.
Yeah, they're not blowing people away by any stretch of the imagination. But once they get past this stretch this weekend, they go down to South Carolina State and NC Central. They don't play another road game the rest of the season. So they finished with 4 in a row at home. At this point, 6-2 in the league. They're tied in the loss column with NC Central, a half game up on them. So obviously that game on Monday is significant. Ultimately, I think you're kind of staring at the Bears as a team that has figured out a way that maybe, to squeeze a few games out here and there. They're not overwhelmingly awesome at either end of the floor, but they're good at both. And obviously, as we talked about last week, Alfred Worrell has played really, really well for them since the start of the new year. So, they've won 6 in a row at this point, and certainly in a league where, you do not have your vintage Norfolk State team. You have a Howard team that I think is getting better, but also has some vulnerability, and nobody in the league is really that great at the offensive end. There's an opening there for Morgan. At the same time, there's still enough of those close games that you wonder whether a little bit of those good breaks turn into shakier breaks if you get too deep into the season and get more opportunities. Certainly, the weekend that they have against Howard and Norfolk coming up February 28th and March 2nd are definitely 2 games to keep an eye on.
And then how do we talk about Towson at this point?
How do we talk about Towson? Well, I mean, it's going to be probably about 4 games in March, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's at this stage, you now lost 3 out of the last 4, and you're 5-7 in the league. You get Stony Brook tonight. That's a game you probably want to win on more than one front, just because that's a team that has been decent so far. But at the end of the day, it's the same stuff we've been talking about all season. If you can't shoot, if you can't score, it's hard to win. And they're just a team that has not made enough shots throughout the season. And you look at it like, Tyler Tejada around 26%, Dylan Williamson around 32%. And you go back in last year and you look from the outside, and Williamson's at 43%, and Tejada's at 33%. You went out and got a guy in Jack Doumbia who, you thought was going to be sort of a third banana type, the guy to kind of play off those. And he was not a great outside shooter but he didn't take a ton of outside shots. He was 4 at 12 from 3 last year at Wright State. He's at 9.7% this year. So, you just kind of run right down the line. There just isn't that much reliable outside shooting. Tyler Schmidt around 25%. If they can make shots, they can stick with anybody in that league. But so far, there isn't really evidence that they're going to do that. And when you're 25 games in, we talk about this seemingly every year about somebody. At some point, that's who you are. It's not, it's wonderful to be aspirational about being better shooters and whatnot. But after 25 games, the die is kind of cast. It's unlikely, not impossible, but really unlikely that a team's suddenly going to start shooting better. And by the way, I recognize that I forgot to mention UMBC there when you asked about the other local teams. But they went and picked off Binghamton last week like they were supposed to. They get the road trip up to Maine and New Hampshire this week. And, UMBC sitting there tied in the loss column with NJIT atop the America East. Big one for the Retrievers next Thursday when Vermont comes to town for their second.
That's a 6 o'clock tip-off there in Catonsville. On the national front, Patrick, is there maybe any team more fascinating than Kansas who, I watched that second half, obviously the scenes on Monday, the atmosphere was incredible, but it's all happening with this incredible subplot of Darren Peterson going on at the same time. They are a fascinating team.
Yeah, I heard somebody joke that Darren Peterson's going to set a record for most reasons for missing a game.
Right.
And he's going to do it in one season. It's going to be like a career record or something. But yeah, Kansas, when you look at them, they have been on quite the burner over the last month or so. And in that league, they've gone through Iowa State, they've gone through BYU, Texas Tech, and Arizona. Now, only one of those games, in fact, now that I think about it, only one of them, the Texas Tech game, was the only one of those that was on the road. So, they go to Ames this week for the return game against Iowa State. They still have to play Houston. They still have to go back to Arizona. So plenty of opportunities for them to trip up. But at the same time, they've won 8 in a row, and they're a team that has surged up the bracket. I think they'd probably be a 3 seed, close to maybe even a 2 seed at this point, just given all that they've been able to amass. Remember, this is a team that beat Tennessee earlier in the year. They beat a decent Missouri team earlier in the year, and obviously the last month or so they've really bolstered their resume here, rolling through the Big 12.
All right, real quick. This man was better known for his glasses than for anything he did after his rookie season, but he was an All-Star once and a Rookie of the Year winner. 4 teams for Ron Kittle.
Ron Kittle, wow, was a White Sox, was a Yankee, was an Oriole, and the other Ron Kittle stop, gosh, it's a good question.
1988.
1988. So this was between the Yankees and the Orioles,
Between
or
the Yankees
between the
and the White Sox, yes.
So he went White Sox this team,
Yes.
and then Yankees.
White Sox, Yankees, this team, White Sox again.
White Sox again, and then the Orioles with that
Yes.
sort of like late '89 cameo or something,
Yep.
right? Gosh, was he was he a twin by any
Oh,
chance?
so close. Oh, so close. Same division, Cleveland. Cleveland.
Okay, that's right.
What? And then 3 teams quickly for Mo Vaughn.
Mo Vaughn was Mets, Angels, and Red Sox.
What's the schedule look like this week, sir?
Up at Towson to see them against Stony Brook today, and then Mason GW tomorrow. American Army on Saturday. Loyola has Holy Cross in on Sunday, and then I think we'll be catching some Navy VMI lacrosse
Afternoon game.
on Tuesday, and then and then Wednesday I think it's going to be Navy and Lehigh.
There you go. We'll talk some more lacrosse next week with you as everybody's getting these games in to start the season. And, of course, Maryland-Syracuse, a very big one this Friday night, so we'll discuss that more next week. Patrick Stevens at Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter and Blue Sky. Always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Thanks for having me as always, Glenn.
That's Patrick Stevens with us here on GCR as we roll along here on a Thursday edition of the program. Today's show also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Yeah, go ahead. We'll stuff all the breaks in at some point, Griffin. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll run them tomorrow. Oh, wait. We'll talk about that. Love Live Casino and Hotel. And they this month are giving away $1 million worth of free slot play. You can win your share, but you got to be there on Fridays. So Fridays this month, make sure you're at Live Casino and Hotel, and you can win your share of $1 million worth of free slot play as they are thanking you for your support. So make sure you get over there to Live Casino and Hotel Fridays this month. Apologies that I haven't been able to react to everybody that's been getting in the comments.
I'm good.
I mean, if you can get anything for Ryan Mountcastle, I get it. Now, with Kobe Mayo looking like he's going to try to have to play a little bit of third base, I don't know if that frees up some at-bats, but if you can get a reliever for Ryan Mountcastle, by all means, go get a reliever. I just don't know that there's a team that is looking to give up anything asset-wise in exchange for Ryan Mountcastle, whether it's the Padres or anybody else. Joining us now here on GCR, his team is getting ready to get things underway on Saturday night at Mustang Stadium when they take on Muhlenberg. He is a Lacrosse Hall of Famer, and our good friend, the head coach of the Stevenson Mustangs, Mr. Paul Cantabene, is back with us now here on GCR. Coach, what's going on, sir? How are you?
I'm fine, Glenn. How we doing, buddy?
I'm all right, man. Hey, before we talk about your team, some big news over at Stevenson today as your buddy Ed Hoddle has announced that he is moving on, and I know how close the two of you are. And I get it, he's got full-time lacrosse dadding to do at the moment, but can you describe to everybody, like from someone who had to start a program from scratch, what Ed Hoddle has meant to your university and to the entire athletic program?
Well, I think, Ed did, Ed's been a huge part of the university and a big part of, how we've come from, where we came from, So, I was the chairman of the hire committee, the hire Ed, and did all that. And Ed's really just done a great job of mending relationships, building a program, putting us out there across the country. And, he's just one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen. And, and that's what's so great about Ed is that he's just going to put his nose to the ground and work hard. And that's why I think we've been really good friends over the time, not only because, he has a strong interest in lacrosse, but he's a hard worker who wants to be successful and is willing to do all the little things for his program to be successful, but not only his program, but other programs. And so it's going to be a massive loss for our university, but, Josh taking over for him, I think is going to be pretty seamless. He's a great guy and has done a tremendous job here. And I think that, him taking over for Ed is going to be a great thing for the university as well. And but we're going to miss Ed for sure. It's a huge loss for our university and our athletic program. But, he's obviously going to get a chance to see his kids play more, which is really important to him, and get a more life balance also, which is really important.
There's no doubt about that. And salute to Ed Hoddle. Appreciate everything you said and what a job he has done. All right, let's talk about your team, Coach. I guess I'll start with, what does your midfield look like? Because it's been a long time since we haven't seen Grant Zick, Jack Scalidi. How is that coming together?
Well, I think, we still have two great middies that are in there. We have Hunter Brandt back from a year ago, who's an all-conference midfielder and first-team all-conference midfielder, and Brendan McNeely, who, played a lot of midi D and two-way midi for us in the past. And so we still got two great ones, we think. But we are younger there. We do have Alex Wilson back from a knee injury. He's been out for about 2 years, and he's back. But we're going to have some younger guys that you haven't heard of, and Gio Dadero and Cam Deming and John Vince and Seth Grossman and Dom Eccles and Cadigan Kimball, and that's a lot of young kids right there. They're all sophomores and they're good players, but we're gonna have they're gonna have to come along to help us. So we think we got 4 solid middies and we got 5 really good young middies that are gonna take some time. And so I think we're gonna be just fine. But we're gonna have to do a really good job of helping those younger middies out earlier.
Can you do me a favor when you're in practice and you're working with Alex? Can you just call him Jake and see how he responds for me?
I will do that. Since he seems to think his biggest job is to drive me crazy, so I'll certainly will do that.
He did a good job of that when he was over here too.
Yeah,
he did
no doubt. I can see that.
I like that kid a lot. I like him a lot, man. He's a good kid.
He's a good kid, yeah.
On the attack, nice to have some knowns, obviously, and some guys you can really count on to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I think we got 3. We're returning our whole attack again this year for the 3rd straight year. So we think they're a really good group together, and led by Gavin Gosson, who we think could be one of the best attackmen in the country. He's small in nature, but he has a huge heart, great change of direction. He led us in points a year ago, and, he's back, and we think he's going to have a huge year. Max Rasick is back. He's going to have another huge year coming off a 70, 80-point season. And then, Darrell Curtis being there to help us out is another just a great shooter and ball mover. So we think we're really happy with those guys. And it's a great group, and they work well together, and they can do things other attacks can't do. So we're really excited. Hopefully they can lead us, and we're going to need them early on for sure.
The specialists, how nice is it to bring back 2 guys, the face-off dot in goal that are proven that you can rely on the way you have in Connor and Tyler?
Yeah, I think, having Connor back, he learned so much from a year ago, and he's only at the face-off dot for us. He's only gotten better, so we think he's really poised for a good year. He's in a much better spot mentally now with his, get his grades under him. He's really doing well, so we think he's in for a really good year. We got some great wing guys we think to help him as well, which we lacked a little bit a year ago. So I think that's going to help him. And, Tyler, and, he has some competition in Nick Ungerland as a freshman as well. And so those 2 guys have been doing a great job this fall. So we think we got 2 starting goalkeepers, and, Tyler's has been a great leader for us. And for sure, and we expect that only to continue.
I remember going into last season, it's sort of like we were talking about with the midfield. The questions were about how you're going to replace everything that you had lost defensively. And I know you were very bullish about some of these guys, and while they were growing pains, I feel like they absolutely stepped up, and that's got to be another unit that you got to feel good about going into this year.
Well, we feel great about our polls, so we think we have some, we think we have one of the better ones in the country in Cam Miller.
Yeah.
Cam proved himself last year as a sophomore, becoming an All-American and doing a great job, and we think he's only improved, So we're going to need him to lead it, and then having Dom Jennings back as a freshman last year, who was so great for us, now sophomore year, he's just improved so much. So we're excited about Nick Linehan back as, first team all-conference poll for us. I think Nick's going to play a little more close this year and helping us. But, we have some great polls back. Thomas Tyler's back for us. He's going to play pole and do that. And we have some really, really good younger poles. A kid named Garrett Bernkart. He's going to play a ton of freshman for us. He's 6'4", 5-ish, 225-pound kid that can run like a deer. So, he's going to help us out there as well. We also have another freshman, local kid here, Trent Melter, who's going to be in the mix as well, who's just a big, strong kid to get the ball off the ground. So we're real bullish on our defense. We think we can do some really, really good things. So we like those guys, and they run really well. So we're just so much more faster there this year, and a lot more confidence in those guys as well.
I like the sounds of all of that. Coach, you guys have been back in the tournament the last couple of years, and you found success. What is the difference in taking that sort of proverbial next step and making that deep run and charging towards Memorial Day for your group?
Well, I think our group just has a lot more confidence. I think they know how to be great in the big situations, which I think with our schedule, we play 8 of the top 15 teams in the country, and the other out-of-conference game is, they're in the top 20. So I think they understand how to play in, pressure situations against great teams and be able to handle those situations. And so that's what we're going to have to be great. We're going to be in a lot of 1, 2, 3 goal games this year. We're going to have to be great in those situations, especially in second and fourth quarters. And, I think that's what these guys can do a really good job. Plus, I think they're a pretty unselfish group. They want each other to be great. They're willing to make the extra pass. Not everybody's trying to make hero plays in every play. I think they understand how to get through the whole game, manage the game, and not try to win the game in the first 2 minutes. We're in it for the whole thing. And so I think that's why last year we were a great second half team for most of the year. And so we have to learn from that, especially from, I think we've also learned a lot from how we ended the season. We didn't end the season on, we made the tournament, but we didn't end the season on a great note. So I think we learned a lot from those last couple games, how we need to play in order to be successful.
I think they also know that their coach is a masochist, given the way that he schedules. I think that's the other thing that they know about him.
Yeah, I'm not a very smart man. A lot of people will tell you that about how I schedule, but I think, we've won a lot of games here. We've won plenty. We want to play the best teams in the country, so that helps us get ready for conference play and NCAA play. And so playing those teams, our guys, and we loved it. And I think it's just a lot of fun. That's what we've been known for, to do that. We're not, we can play any 10 teams at a count. To do that, we always want to play the best, and some days we're going to take a lump here or there when we know that, but we think those lumps make us better. We learn more from that than beating some no-name team 25-4. That doesn't do us any good. We think those lessons we learn in those games help us be a better team.
Obviously, we want everybody to come out on Saturday night, but we know that there's nothing more important that goes on with Stevenson Lacrosse than the Callum Robinson Mustang Classic on March 13th and 14th. And last year, it was just really beautiful seeing the way everybody came together. Can you share with everybody why this weekend, it's always been important to you, but how much more important it's become now that it carries the name of the great Callum Robinson?
Yeah, I think it's just gotten, that much more important for us, being named after Callum and what he's done and everything like that. And I think all the other teams understand that as well. It's not just us, but I think all the other teams understand how much more important it is now with Callum's legacy attached to it. And so it's made it even better. The coaches of this year have been even more excited about it, checking in more about the event. So, we already have people to get in press passes already. And so we're just really excited about the games, and we think we got 10 great games on tap for everybody to watch. And this year, one of the other things we're doing to help recognize Callum is that, we got the Caleb Robinson Foundation goals. We got a waiver from the NCAA to use those goals this year. So our goals are, Australian gold pipes, Australian gold nets. And so, that's what we're using for our game. So that's just another way for us to remember Callum and to have those things and help spread his foundation and everything we do. So that's a massive weekend for us. We just understand how important it is. And I think everybody understands how important it is, but it's becoming an even bigger event now, we think, with Caleb attached to it and how everybody wants to be a part of it, how it's known. U.S. Lacrosse is going to do a great article on us and to help it for their March publication. So, we can't be more excited about the direction that's heading and how it's going. And it's a huge weekend, not just for our program or our thing, but for everybody involved in it. So I think it's just a great thing. And we're so happy and appreciate your support of it. And we can't wait to get to March 13th and 14th for sure.
That's awesome. That's a really cool thing. How you feeling about
Yeah,
Joe
the
Brady?
goals are great. It's
So,
awesome. We're pumped about it.
I mean, like, and by the way, was that easy? Does the NCAA were like, hey man, we'll do this? Did that require some? I've never heard of anybody trying to do this before. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, we did have to get a waiver.
Okay.
So the goals, the goal net pipes have to be a certain color. They have to be orange, and so the nets can be any color. But we went to the NCAA and. I thought it was going to take a lot of work, but shockingly, it was one of the easiest things I ever did. The director of rules and everything got back to me right away. Our conference commissioner was for it, and she supported it, so they got back to us right away. Buzz Lynn, who's our official, he was in favor as well. So all them, writing letters to the NCAA, the rules committee for us to get it, and they sent us a letter within days saying no problem, done. And so we're just really excited, and we're going to use those goals all year for the team. You'll see them Saturday night, and so we just think it's awesome to be able to do that and go out there every time we played. Honor Cal with those goals. And his family couldn't be happier. We talked to them the other day, and they just couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. I don't even have the words, right? Like, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, it's emotional, right? Cool. It's awesome. So, I mean, just those little things go a long way. I don't think people understand when you do those little things, how much they mean to people. And, that's what we try to do here is it's all about family here for us and loyalty. And Cal was loyal to us, and he was family to us. And we want to make sure that we're loyal to his family and we do the right thing to his family in our program.
Just one of the best humans there ever was. That's
absolutely.
Awesome. All right, how you feeling about Joe Brady?
Shoot. I was pretty disappointed in the decision, but to get rid of McDermott, because I think he did some really good things. And obviously, if you look at all the stats, what he did is unbelievable. But you got to believe. Hopefully, I mean, I thought the general manager should have been fired. Personally, that was my thing.
I have no idea what's going on up there, bro. I have no idea.
I thought it was more on the general manager than it was on McDermott. So, but they made a decision. You got to live with it. Obviously, in sports, people make decisions. Owners make decisions, right? And you got to live with them. And we hope Joe's going to do. He's done a great job with Josh, and hopefully he can get him some help. And we could be a little better defensively against the run, and I think things will work out. But, I'm a lifelong Bills fan. For good or bad, I'm going to cheer for him, and, it's just what it is, So, I thought it was a catch, by the way. I'm going to go to my grave thinking it's a catch. So, just like I'm going to go to my grave, that was a forward lateral. So, I'm going to go. So
never let it go. Never. What was that?
Never
Nashville?
let it go.
Was it 99 or something like that happened, and you still have.
It didn't help. Like the next week, like when the Rams made that catch and they called it like complete.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with the NFL officiating for a little while. I'll see you later.
Which is weird because you're normally so good with officials. No.
Oh yeah, I know.
You're their best friend.
They're my people, right? Come on, man.
God, man. Saturday night, Muhlenberg at Mustang Stadium take on Stevenson to start the season in the Callum Robinson Mustang Classic, March 13th and 14th. Coach, we'll see you out there on Saturday. Always appreciate you, brother. Thanks for hopping on this morning.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. See you.
Paul Cantabene, Hall of Famer, Stevenson lacrosse coach. Appreciate him doing that. All right, when we come back in, we will share a little bit of John Harbaugh and the interview that I'll be doing with him Friday night on WBAL. So that's coming up next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
At Live, we want to say thanks to our community with our biggest giveaway yet. Thanks a Million free slot play giveaway. Join us every Friday in February for your chance to win a share of $1 million in free play, including a grand prize of $75,000 in free play. You could be one of 25 winners each week. So what are you waiting for? Thanks a Million, only at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website costasin.com for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. It's been a very busy Thursday. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping real quick. We will not have a show tomorrow. We will be off tomorrow, and I'll let you know how that's going to look. I think there's going to be a couple of schedule changes moving forward, and I think they're going to be for the better. We're doing an awful lot of show, trying to pack a lot into a short amount of time, and I'm working a lot of jobs at the moment. Jobs. Apparently, I have not watched it. Apparently, Stevenson men's basketball lost in heartbreaking fashion last night, and apparently CBS Sports shared it out.
Oh man, really?
Yeah. It's not a great look for your boy because
I think it's fine. I think you capture the moment.
I do think
right?
it captures the moment, and that's why.
That's what you want.
Yeah, but my God,
not good for. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of things in my life. I've never seen anything quite like this.
Hayburn gets it into Landis. Landis tosses one up, and we're headed to overtime. Oh, my gosh! No way! No!
There's no way!
No way!
No way. Boris is not. They're walking down to shake hands. That's unbelievable. We're seeing it all, Glenn.
There's no way Ethan Glass got that off in time. If he did, it's maybe the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Courtesy of
GoMaxSports.tv. Thank you. Seen a lot of things in my day. Hang on, can you? I haven't seen that. I just want to say I don't really want to hear me. I know it got off. I know that because everybody told me, but I never got to see the replay last night. I know.
Call it. Yeah, you want to.
I mean, that's definitely a good basket. There's no question about it. It's a good basket. It's just impossible. Impossible. Congratulations to York and to Ethan Glass who hit that game winner. It's been a very busy. What's that?
Ball's out of his hands. Yeah.
Oh, it's definitive. I mean, there's no doubt. Now, did they start the clock on time? I don't. There's a lot of. You know what I mean? Like this happens all the time in basketball. Like it's impossible to know when the clock actually started. Like. It's unreal. It's unreal that occurred. And
how much time was on the clock when that play started?
2 point.
Oh wow, yeah. There's almost no way. That feels
9. I want to say was
just because I feel like it almost takes like 3 seconds for a 3-pointer to get off.
And then
and he took a dribble.
Yeah, yeah. But whatever.
Who was the
man.
Clock operator?
Look, man. Not my area. It's what it is.
On your home court.
That's part of the reason why I said that they were headed to overtime because that's all the time I thought they had was to get one shot off. And I just think that ultimately the play took a little bit longer than the time that was left. It's a conversation. It's neither here nor there. But doing a lot of things right now. And so going to take tomorrow off. And I would just say to be determined moving forward. It's not like I'm telling you that the show's over. We're back on Monday. And by the way, if tonight the Ravens trade Lamar Jackson or something like that.
Towson, gets a win.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be enough that I would come in tomorrow. But if the news dictates, then I'll be here. I'll be doing the show tomorrow. If not, then we've done lots of show this week. We went over an hour before even taking a commercial break today. So more than making up for it. That's the way that it's going to go. That said, tomorrow night, I will, of course, be on WBAL from 7 to 11 p.m., as I am at the moment. And it worked out that John Harbaugh is joining me on WBAL tomorrow night. Now, the magic of radio is that sometimes, and we normally acknowledge it here because you see it on video, sometimes something that you hear that sounds like it's happening right then isn't actually happening right then. It might have happened at another time. And that was the case with the interview with John Harbaugh this week. I think you're all aware that John Harbaugh kind of did a little bit of a media tour in Baltimore. I know that was something that he had wanted to do. I think it's a great thing for him to have done. Honest to God, I think John would have liked to have done a press conference, so that everybody could address him. But that's not really plausible. Could there have been one big Zoom call? Maybe that would have been an option. But the Giants coordinating with the Ravens, that's kind of unprecedented. John's not affiliated with the Baltimore Ravens right now, so it wouldn't make sense for the Ravens to be kind of coordinate Baltimore media. It's just a tough thing to do. So instead, John did a little bit of a media tour, and I appreciated that John wanted to include me in that and the show over at WBAL. And we're not going to share the whole thing here because that's for WBAL, but it was about a 20-minute interview, right? It was about that. And I'll just share a couple of highlights from it and give you a little bit of a tease. Where do you want to start? What do you have us first?
I've got this. Do you want to just do his reflection back?
The question was...
I think I have it included, but yeah.
Okay, very good. This is the first. This is for WBAL. And again, if you don't want to wait till tomorrow night, you can go watch the entire interview right now on WBAL's YouTube page.
After this show.
Yes, after this show. Thank you, Griffin. Company man.
Is there any theme or anything that you look on and say, maybe this explains why this core group in the last few years was so close but never able to get over the hump to win another Super Bowl title?
Yeah, I don't look at it like that. And I know that's how everybody wants to look at it, but I don't look at it like that because I know how hard it is. I know it has to happen in certain circumstances. You look back at 2012 when we did win the Super Bowl, which is really the one thing that is counted as success. We got hot and we made some plays, when we had to. Even in the game itself, the Super Bowl game, there were ups and downs in the game, could have easily gone the other way, and then it would have been framed, what did they do to fall short? It's what we didn't do. We didn't make a play on a goal line fade. But we did make a play on a goal line fade. Jimmy Smith made a play on a goal line fade, and we won. Not just that, all the other plays. If we'd have got through the AFC Championship game 2 years ago, would we have won the Super Bowl? Good chance we would have. If we'd have got through the divisional game in Buffalo, would we have won the Super Bowl? Yeah, good chance we would have. But we didn't because, we didn't do what we had to do. In that moment, the other team did. That's football. Because we did all the things we needed to do year after year after year to put ourselves in position to be there. That's the challenge. That's what's really hard. It's to be good enough to be in that fight. It's good enough to walk into that ring, and start throwing punches and start taking punches. So we were always in the fight. Really, out of 18 years, pretty much every year. Even when we weren't in the fight, we were still fighting. And that's what I think defines those 18 years. The thing I'm proud of, the thing why I say I have no regrets, Glenn, is because I look back and there's not a single football fan out there that could say that they didn't know what the Ravens were going to bring to the fight every single week. We were recognizable. When we walked on the field, you ask anybody that played against us, it's like, here they come. This is how they're going to play. And this is how they're going to be. This is the style they're going to play. That doesn't just happen because you wear a uniform, because you have a certain nickname, or you play in a certain city, or you work out of a certain building. There's a reason that the teams play the way they play, because that's how they're built. That's what I feel great about. And that's why I'm going to look back on those 18 years and go, man, that was really something. That was really something amazing.
I know that, you know, there's obviously a fair amount of eye rolling that comes with that, right? I'm not going to change the way that I have discussed this. I think it was time, but I also think that we are wildly too dismissive of the significance of the Ravens being competitive and being in it every year. And maybe I have had people that have said to me when I've talked about this subject that perhaps that's something that means a little bit more to me or to us because we're doing it every week, because we want people to listen or to watch, and people are more inclined to listen or to watch when the team is doing well. And so it's been significant to me that the team largely did do well and was almost always playing relevant games at the end of the season. And I've thought about that, but I don't think it's unique to me or to us or to anybody in media. I think it's also unique to people who own businesses. I think while we sometimes overstate the significance of sports within a civic area, within a community, the success of the Baltimore Ravens tends to go a long way to how we feel as a community. And I know that can be narrowcast, right? Like I have no doubt that there are lots of people that exist within this community that don't give a rat's ass about football or sports, and even some of those people tend to, you get to December, the Ravens are doing well, and even some of those people are like, yeah, I kind of like purple. I want to get in the vibe. I want to get in that feeling. I don't think we do appreciate that enough. I think we are too dismissive of that part of it. Does that mean that it doesn't matter that they didn't win a championship? Not at all. Like it's still part of the conversation and how you measure him, and part of why it was time. It was funny. I talked about it before. I think we're going to try to do another Rita and Glenn today. But at the beginning of the year, Rita and Caleb and I were talking about it, and Rita and Caleb both said, I don't care if John Harbaugh wins the Super Bowl this year, he needs to go. And I was like, what? Yeah. What? To me, if somehow the Ravens had gotten hot in late December and gone and won a Super Bowl, then that's the only part that matters. So I'm not trying to suggest that it doesn't matter. But I don't think the part where they were regularly good should be dismissed either. And obviously, I think it mattered to a lot of other teams in the NFL that value John Harbaugh. And whether it will work out for the Giants or not, I don't know. But I do think it matters. And I do think that it is kind of the point. The other stuff matters too, the fourth quarters, all of that. I'm not trying to dismiss that. But I think we dismiss this part. I think all of it needs to be measured in the way that we talk about John Harbaugh. What was the next one that you wanted to share?
Steve Bassitt.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry. It's literally right on the screen. I'm looking at it. People don't know this now, but I have a screen in front of me. I can see what Griffin's doing, which is really difficult because, like, you still spend money on, like, Bang Bus? Like, I don't.
No. That's for something else.
You have another job I wasn't aware of?
No. It is show related.
All right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to finding out how that ties in. So there was one moment during the end-of-season press conference that really stood out because I think most of it came off very glowing, it was a love affair. And was Steve Bassitt talking about how hurt he was by having to fire John Harbaugh. There was one moment that occurred during the press conference that was very terse, and I was a little surprised by it, and I wanted to get John Harbaugh's reaction to it.
If Tyler Loop makes that field goal, is John Harbaugh still here coaching this team?
For a week.
I was surprised by how terse that felt, John, and I wonder if you felt any of that, and how you reacted to that, and if it's something that you've had a chance to talk to Steve about at all.
No, I would never talk to him. Well, we may joke about it at the owners' meeting. I'm sure we're Steve and I are close. We're always going to be close. This is real life. And I'm sure that's the answer that came to his head, and it's an honest answer. And it doesn't bother me. It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's like whatever. It's what he felt in the moment. So I don't have to answer for it. I didn't say it. I can joke with like Jerry or you. Yeah. You're the media guy. So why didn't you guys ask the follow-up question?
I would say, why would it be only 1 week?
Well, because then you would have had him. He would have said, well, 2 weeks. Well, for 2 weeks. Well, for 3. What about 4 weeks? What if he'd have won the next 4?
Right.
And you laugh about it. It's like, because it's not the point is like, that's the point. It's like, the point is that we didn't win the game, and it's not Tyler Loop's fault. It's not that he missed a kick. He's not responsible. That's Steve's point is Tyler Loop's not responsible for my decision to take the organization in a different direction with the head coach. That's the point. And so I think that's what popped in his head to say. And if you wanted to corner him like you have in me in the past, you could have, but you guys took it easy on him, which is cool. I'm good with that. It's funny to me. I laugh about it. I'll laugh about it with Steve. But the point that Steve is making is it's like, no, this is a bigger decision than that moment. That's what he's saying, and that's how I take it.
So as Griffin and I were talking after the interview yesterday, it definitely did have a bit of a vibe of I'm definitely not mad. Whatever you do, don't let the newspaper say I was mad. It definitely has some of that. It is a couple of things. One, it is probably accurate. And I said this about Steve. I think if you had talked to Steve afterwards, he was deep in a press conference, and it was Jerry. You know how this goes with Jerry. And I think he just kind of wanted to get the question and the answer over with. And the way that it comes off like what Steve's saying is, I don't think the team had a chance of winning the game. So they were just going to turn around and lose to the Texans, and so we would be firing him anyway. That's the way it sounds. But I don't think that was Steve's intent. I don't think Steve was trying to say that. I think, for what it's worth, I think that John, it sounds like he probably talked to Steve. I think the way that John describes it exactly right. That Steve's trying to say this decision didn't come down to Tyler Loop making or missing this kick. This decision was bigger than that. And short of a deep run in the playoffs.
Right, winning 4 games, right.
And maybe it didn't need to be 4. Maybe it needed to be, I don't know what it would have needed to be. In the way that the digging that I've done is that there was room for, if there had been like a deep run in the playoffs, they weren't going to fire John Harbaugh. If the vibes shifted, right? And maybe the vibes could shift even if, say, you lose the AFC Championship game, right? Like you reach the AFC Championship game and
if you're facing Buffalo, maybe I guess. Like
I don't know,
but I almost
right?
feel like that's the one team if they did lose to them. It's
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to definitively what it would have taken, but I do think the way that John talks about it and is probably right.
If you lose to Mike McDonald in the Super Bowl, like what is
that's tough. You're not wrong. I do think that part of it is he's trying to say, no, this decision was not based on one kick, which is the way that the question was phrased, which was, so if Tyler Loop makes that kick, I think what Steve was attempting to say is, no, the kick didn't determine this. And it just came off a little terse and a little strange in that moment. And then we got one more. This is the one that I know has gotten a lot of attention today. I asked John a question that I've asked a lot of people. Like I think I've asked the same question of Tyus Bowser and Eric Weddle, and I try to think of other guys that we've had on in recent weeks.
We talked to Charles Davis about it, like yesterday, and so
a little bit. Yeah. The question is the comparison between Mike McDonald and Jesse Minter, which is obvious for us to make because they were both kind of Harbaugh guys, right? Like they were both Michigan defensive coordinators. They both worked under both Harbaughs. Like there's obvious comparisons to be made. But what's been interesting is the people that know them have suggested that's not just you comparing their bio or comparing their background. We're telling you they are very similar as coaches. And so I brought that up to John, that comparison, those similarities, and then ended up going to an interesting place. Here's the last clip we'll share from our interview, WBAL with John Harbaugh. How similar did you find Jesse and Mike to be, knowing them both as well as you do?
Yeah, I thought they were both on the same track, same level, of all the things you're talking about, the emotional intelligence and just being good guys, smart guys, tough guys, demanding, hold people accountable, et cetera. All the great things that great coaches do. I saw in both those two guys. I remember people wanted to run Mike out. People didn't even want me to hire Mike when I first did it. People in Baltimore. You might have been on that train. I can't remember.
The Dolphins game was a little questionable, Joe. There were some things that we were saying.
So you're saying you were wrong, and I appreciate you saying you were wrong at the time because you were proven wrong, and that's okay because that's a moment in time. And I was right, and I was proven right, and I was proven right about Jesse too, and I'll stand by that because I know what a good coach looks like when I see it, and I'll be proven right about Zach Orr too. You'll see. So I'm proud of all those guys, and those guys are great coaches in their own right, and they deserve the credit for it. But I'm also willing to say, you know what? I'm kind of proud of that. I'm pretty proud of that. I'm proud of those guys, and I'm proud of what they've accomplished.
Can I ask you about Zach as you brought him up, right? Because somebody would say, if that's the case, why isn't he your defensive coordinator in New York?
Sometimes it's time to change, and Zach and I have had those conversations, and we both felt it'd be best for him, best for him to go get the next opportunity to grow in a different way. So he gets a chance to grow in a different way. And I think it's going to be great for him to get a chance to do that, and it's going to be positive. So there's your answer to your criticism or whatever it might be.
Would that have been the case if you had stayed in Baltimore?
I don't know. But I didn't stay in Baltimore, so it doesn't matter.
Obviously, it was one of the places during the interview where John appeared to be most aggressive. And there's a lot of vitriol that's being pointed towards that as that clip is making the rounds today. And I get it. If you don't like John Harbaugh, anything. This is more examples. This guy was an egomaniac. I am not as worked up as you are. I mean, I expected that. By the way, it's funny because I had a list of questions somewhere, which somebody would say, "You prepped?" Yeah, believe it or not, I prepped. But I had a list of questions, and I was always
be surprised that you prepped.
I mean, sometimes I think people can tell.
Okay, sure.
Sometimes we don't know that somebody's coming on until 3
3
seconds before they're coming on. So I have a general idea of certain things we might be discussing. Also, I'll pull the curtain back. There are places where producers that one of their jobs is literally write out questions for a host. I don't do that.
To do that, yeah.
No, I don't do that. In part for two reasons. One of the reasons I don't do that is because I do think interviewing is one of my strengths. And also, I want an interview that we do to be a little bit more natural. I want to react to something that someone just said and not be regimented by, but I wrote down these questions. And I think sometimes you can hear in certain interviews that there isn't a natural back and forth and that someone is just reading questions that have been written. Now, I do try to write down topics, things that I wanted to get to when it comes to some of the more noteworthy interviews that we do, or ones that I think are more likely to get, be shared and to have a broader audience. I absolutely was intending to ask John Harbaugh about Zach Orr and him not going to New York and whether or not that would have been the case had he stayed in Baltimore. And I don't think I expected John to answer the last part, because it's too hypothetical. Why show your cards? I did think that it was a bit of an aggressive response. And I didn't even ask the question about Zach Orr. He brought it up on his own when I was asking about Mike McDonald and Jesse Minter. He said, I'm going to be right about Zach Orr too. And who knows, maybe he will. But it's sort of like saying Mike Elias got the Trevor Rogers trade right. Well, yeah, Trevor Rogers certainly looks good right now. And maybe he's going to have another great season ahead of him. But the Orioles in that moment didn't need a good pitcher for 2025. They needed
5 good pitchers.
That's fair, too. They needed help in 2024. They were trying to make a playoff run. And how did that work out?
Yeah.
So maybe at some point in the future, John Harbaugh will be proven right about Zach Orr. Maybe Zach Orr will go have success. Did he end up in Dallas? Did he get that job?
Yeah, linebackers coach in Dallas.
Maybe he'll go have success in Dallas as a linebackers coach again this year. And maybe that will lead to him getting another defensive coordinator opportunity. And maybe if that's the case, then that will lead to him getting a head coaching job one day. And who knows? Maybe John Harbaugh, 10 years from now, I'll be like, you guys thought I was an idiot. But
does have that on his side that he's still in his 30s, so he's got plenty of coaching career.
It's just a more complicated conversation than that. Even if Zach Orr proves to be a really good coach, there's a reason why he's not the Giants' defensive coordinator right now. And John Harbaugh can use buzzwords and say, it's just time for him to have another opportunity. But we know the answer. If Zach Orr was definitively ready to be a high-level defensive coordinator, he'd be the defensive coordinator in New York. Well, he'd probably be the defensive coordinator in Baltimore because, the Ravens probably wouldn't have fired John Harbaugh. It's less a question of whether or not Zach Orr is going to be a good coach, which he might be, and obviously more a statement about what he wasn't in Baltimore, which was a pretty high-level defensive coordinator now. And that's a nuanced conversation. And even if I said it that way, John would probably fight and say, you don't know the inner workings. You don't know what was happening. You don't know that this is Zach Orr's fault. I also know he's the defensive coordinator. It didn't work. That's ultimately the way that it goes in football. And again, he didn't hire Zach Orr. He had the chance, but he's not staking this job on whether or not Zach Orr is ready to do it right now. And so that alone answers the question, no matter what it is that John says. And John he might be right. And I'll root for Zach Orr because I like Zach Orr. He's one of us. I want him to succeed. But it doesn't change the fact that he didn't for 2 years as defensive coordinator in Baltimore. A lot more. There's a lot more. Again, you can watch the entire thing on WBAL's YouTube page and tune in tomorrow night, 7:30 and 10:30, unless something else. It's whenever we plan something like this, it's always very difficult because, my God, who knows? What? The president could sue himself. I don't know.
Nah, he wouldn't do that. Yeah.
You say that. I have no idea what might happen, but that's the plan, is that 7:30 tomorrow night and 10:30 tomorrow night on WBAL, you'll be able to hear the full interview with John Harbaugh. All right. Today's show is also brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website for you to find everything that you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland. Scores, schedules, rankings, a look at brackets for winter sports in the postseason. All at CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Do you want to do a 2-minute version of Fighting Words?
Oh, I do, but no,
you didn't prepare it?
No, I didn't. There's no fights this week, so.
Actually, was going to let you do your segment and everything.
Let's go.
All right, here we go.
You just want to see what I got off the rip here?
Sure.
I got to find the music first.
I'm glad we we'll take a break. We'll come back in. A very short version of Fighting Words, tidbit and tubular.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our annual Best of issue, celebrating the top people, performances, and moments of 2025 in local sports. On the cover, we recognize 4 of the most significant athletes of the year: Orioles pitcher Trevor Rogers, Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, Maryland basketball star Derek Queen, and our 2025 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Pressbox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
At Live, we want to say thanks to our community with our biggest giveaway yet. Thanks a Million free slot play giveaway. Join us every Friday in February for your chance to win a share of $1 million in free play, including a grand prize of $75,000 in free play. You could be one of 25 winners each week. So what are you waiting for? Thanks a Million only at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here as we wind things down. You ready this time?
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
Here we go. It's Fighting Words. Griffin's trip through the world of combat sports. We're doing a very short one this week. But
Well, it's the first one, and there's so much to cover.
Yeah, it's brought to you by the print issue of Pressbox, which is still available for just a couple of more days. This best of issue, then it's gone, daddy gone, the love is gone. You can get it for free at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores or read it all, PressBoxOnline.com.
All right, where do we want to start? Obviously, we're into the Paramount era of the UFC. Of course, no card this weekend, though.
Is that because of Valentine's Day?
Yeah, obviously.
It's such an
Who
odd...
wants to fight on Valentine's
I mean, they do
Day?
NBA Saturday. I get the sense that it's the Olympics. Like, in talking to people
yeah.
in the media world, that, like, the Olympics are such a juggernaut. I think this is the weird world for me. I can't imagine...
They're trying to throw all the guys a bone, so that we have Saturday off.
I can't imagine watching tape-delayed sports. Like, I just can't fathom it, right? But I guess it's just such an institution over the years that people still do it. I don't look at the ratings for the Olympics. I guess they're still so significant in prime time. I mean, it makes sense when they're live, right? If the Olympics, they're going to be in Salt Lake City again in a few years. When they're in Salt Lake City, it'll make a lot of sense to me. But for tape-delayed Olympics to be the reason why everybody else is taking 2 weeks off of TV, it's wild to me.
Yeah, so it's been it was a good start to the year, I guess, for the UFC because they had 2 back-to-back title fights. They didn't start until January 24th, but I guess part of that is the Paramount era that they've started. Justin Gaethje defeated Patty the Batty on their opening card,
and that got a huge number, right? Like,
I think so.
I want to say it did Kid Rock numbers. I'm not even kidding. Like. I mean, we can make fun of that. We can make fun of that all you want, but if that's a real number, and I know that everybody's talking about like, hey, there were a lot of bots involved in the whole thing. I don't know, but whatever it is, it is still amazing to have 5 million people tune into anything, like anything at all, is incredible.
So Justin Gaethje beat Patty Batty. There were a lot of complaints coming out of at least, I guess, for me at least. Watching the broadcast it was a crawl. Like it was like a boxing pace the first weekend. They tightened it up much better the second weekend.
Why did they slow down? Like what?
I don't know. Well, they ran like a massive promo at the start. The first fight didn't start until like 10. Sorry, they did move it up an hour, so the first fight started at 9, but the title fight still didn't start until like midnight. which was really
Okay.
annoying. The second week they were much better.
But it all looks the same, right? Because
yeah, I one thing I always complained about was not being able to see the walkouts. Like I like trying to, getting to know the fighters. I want to know who the players are. I want to know the roster. And whenever they cut away to commercial for 5 minutes, and then they're like, all right, we got 2 guys standing here you may know nothing about, and then they fight. It's much harder to kind of get into it. At least
So you want to see the walkouts for every fight.
I'd like to, yeah.
Because they still showed the walkouts for the main events.
Yes.
You want to see like the guy that's fighting on the undercard.
Correct. Yeah, I want to know if this guy, because
I
that guy could be Habib.
I understand what you're saying. I just think that's so specific.
Sure.
That like maybe they offer that like for a certain amount.
So they did do that as well. They have this, I forget what they called it. It's like a multi-view kind of thing. So they show, so during the fights they show both the corner cam, so you can see the coaches, going, come on, but, strangle him, whatever. While also, like, the normal broadcast in one corner and then, like, a wide shot as well. So they show that, and what I found is that I think through commercials, they just kind of play the arena. Like, they just kind of play arena ambiance even through. The second week they did do, I gotta be honest, I did not watch the third week. It was a UFC, it was an Apex card.
You hate that.
Yeah, I do hate that. So I did not watch the third week, but I did watch the first 2 numbered events, which they're calling it now instead of pay-per-view. Volkanovski beat Diego Lopez the second week. They were good fights. The second week was much better paced. Like it started at 9 as well. They were in Australia, and it was over before the Shakur Stevenson fight started, which was that was a good doubleheader 2 weeks ago. It was I think it ended like around 11:30. Like that was much better. They flew along there, and they figured out the pacing much better. And they started showing like little picture-in-picture commercials. They would do like maybe 30 seconds to a minute while also still showing the walkout. And then they cut right back in and kind of talk about the fighter. They'd show another commercial right before Bruce Buffer like gets into the announcement. So I like the starts of the Paramount era. I think we're still gonna learn more about the style that they like to play the fights and commercials and how they're figuring all that aspect out of it. But good fights. Justin Gaethje won, so he's the big kind of news is who's going to headline the White House card.
Right. They said they're going to start working on that or something.
Yeah, so Justin Gaethje is kind of in the driver's seat for that. It kind of sets up a matchup with Ilia Topuria, which I think would be...
That seems very interesting to a very specific group of people.
Just because of the names Ilia Topuria is unbelievable.
I'm not... they're great fighters, but these are for fight fans. They're not for... And look, we've been talking about that. We haven't done this segment in a long time, but... This is the problem that we talked about last year, is that they just don't have the names and the personalities that have crossed over and transcended, and I don't think that's going to be aided. Like, if you couldn't do that on ESPN, I have no idea how you're going to do that now away from ESPN. And Patty has a little bit of that, right?
Right,
like,
and he
lost. So what else you got? I mean, you're down to begging people that aren't fighters anymore.
Yeah, just get guys like me saying, "Guys, trust me, Justin Gaethje's unbelievable."
Right.
Like, he only puts
well, no,
on, which he does.
There's your option is that, right? Like, put the best fighters on and hope that people really like fights, or praying that the people that aren't fighters anymore, Conor, John Jones, those types, you could trust them to fight in that situation. Even though they're no longer fighters.
The heavyweight is going to hell. They cut Jailton Almeida the other week after he lost on that Apex card. You shouldn't really know his name. He has a win over Derek Lewis, but like
I feel like a lot of people do.
He's just got he's very hit or miss, where he's either going to submit a guy like immediately, or it's going to be a very boring fight that he might lose. And so he did lose on Saturday. And so they cut him. He's just like a giant, like kind of jacked guy. Like it's just kind of interesting that they're a division that's already very shallow, that they're kind of cutting bait with him like that. But the reason I bring up heavyweight is because Tom Aspinall is another big heavyweight name that everyone's familiar with. And kind of Dana went out of his way to take shots. I guess I should have pulled the clip of Dana yelling about Aspinall. But on the opening card, Aspinall, a reporter asked a question about Aspinall, and he was like, "Don't get me started about Tom Aspinall. I'm sick of that guy. Apparently, he's got another eye injury. So he got poked in the eye in his last fight, and so the heavyweight is they don't have a champion right now. Heavyweight doesn't, and we're kind of trying to wait for Aspinall because we know Aspinall is the best heavyweight on the plate, at least actively. And so and then Aspinall shared these pictures this week of he had apparently double eye surgery, and so he looks, he looks pretty beat, looks pretty legit.
Yeah, I mean, those certainly don't look right.
But so it just goes back to it's still the UFC, and Dana White's going to attack the fighters he doesn't like.
We were talking about the narcissists earlier. We were talking about.
So that's, I guess, your quick UFC update. Shakur Stevenson won a boxing fight 2 weeks ago.
I think they call them matches. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they do.
Zuffa boxing is a thing that started as well. I have not watched it yet. Apparently, they have their first title fight set for March.
Okay.
Between two guys I've never heard of. And then top rank boxer Xander Zayas. He was one of the guys in the Bad Bunny halftime show. Remember they had the two boxers going off against each other? He was one of those two. Yeah.
Good for him.
So Bad Bunny got two real boxers.
There was a story. There was another story that was getting traction, and
I think those are the big ones.
Somebody was sharing that like Ronald Acuna was being.
Yes, Ronald Acuna was there.
No. There was like a fake account that put out a tweet that said something like, there's insurance issues with the Braves, and so they're fining Ronald Acuna because he didn't have insurance for the Bad Bunny show, and it was an obviously fake account. Like literally, it was the name, I guess if you only saw the profile picture, it looked like someone that might work for the Braves, right? Like,
okay.
But the moment you clicked on it, it was
the MLB on Facts page definitely gets.
The bio of this person literally says fake account, and yet actual reporters and baseball people were retweeting it, and it was so brainless. It was like, oh my god. Well, there you go. We'll try to tighten up fighting words.
Yeah, that was good.
Moving forward.
Probably about what you're going to get.
Something like that.
Well, hopefully longer.
Well, no, definitely not that. I want it to be a nice tight. I want it to be a tight five, like you're doing a comedy set, like a tight. I want you to be.
I got long stories to tell though. You gotta
something like
set up something.
Let's get a tidbit
in the first minute that's going to come back.
Tidbit and Tubular are brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. If you missed it, Stan and Luke got together last night to talk about Chris Bassitt. You can find that by going to facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan's shows are brought to you by the Costas Inn with two great locations, the OG in Dundalk and the new location in Timonium at the Grandstand. The Costas Inn brings you Stan the Fan's Variety Hour every week. And if you missed Stan and Luke last night breaking down Chris Bassitt, go find it right now.
Kevin Pillar was correct about his quick stat on Chris Bassitt. He is top 10 in both innings pitched and games started the last 5 seasons. He is actually top 8 in both. Do you want to do innings pitched or games started? Give you the option.
Games started.
They're both pretty similar.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, games started.
How many am I doing?
Bassitt has the 7th most games started since 2021, so the last 5 full seasons. Yes, top 6.
Most games started. The problem is for me trying to remember who didn't get hurt, and that's a very difficult thing to do. I'm thinking there's got to be some goofy ones up here, and it's not just the guys that you would think. But I don't know. I'll try.
You know, now that I'm looking at it, the innings pitched is kind of the more better.
Is the better one to do?
Better pitchers.
Okay.
There's more. There are some anomic. Is that a word? Yeah.
Anomalic. I don't know what I don't know what that is. All right, Logan Webb.
Logan Webb is up there, 4th most games started, and he has the most innings pitched in the last 5 seasons.
Good for Logan Webb.
4th most games started.
It goes back to what year?
2021. So last 5 full seasons after COVID.
Still try Scooble?
Nope.
I guess that's because it goes back to it's hard for me to remember when these guys started.
Right.
So I'm assuming that Crochet is not on that list because he obviously was not pitching as many innings. How about? Damn, this is tough. Rodon?
Nope.
Max Fried?
No, he had he missed most of, or he missed all of 24, I think.
Okay. Framber?
Yes. Wait, sorry, no. Framber's he's only innings pitched one, not the game started.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
143 starts for Framber. You need at least Bassitt's at 152.
Freddie Peralta.
No. Frommer does have the 5th most innings pitched.
You
want to do that instead?
I don't know. This is tough, man. How about Alcantara?
No.
Okay. I don't know. Dylan Cease.
Yes.
Okay.
Dylan Cease is on both lists, and he has the most starts over the last 5 seasons.
Good for Dylan Cease.
162.
How about... Did I say Garrett Cole? Garrett Cole.
No, he missed last year.
Okay. And Corbin Burns missed last
same.
year.
Corbin Burns would definitely be on this list if not for last year.
How about
136? Yeah, 136 starts for Burns.
Ryan.
No.
Gilbert.
No. Teammate of Gilbert.
Teammate of Gilbert. Well, there's only a couple of options then.
He
But
wouldn't have spent every year. He would not every year with Seattle.
not every year with Seattle, so it's not Kirby. So that means it's who hasn't spent every year with Seattle but is with Seattle. Is that Castillo?
Yes, Luis
Okay.
Castillo. One more start than Bassitt over the last 5 years. 1, 2, 3 more.
So difficult. This is so hard. You're gonna have to start guiding me at some
Left-hander,
point.
pitched.
I mean, they're either left or right.
Pitched in the area, and then went to a new team last year. Was that his first year leaving?
In the area, then went to a new team last year. Pitched in the area.
World Series champion.
Went to a new team last year. So he was a National.
Yes.
And he left the Nationals.
Because he'd been pretty bad, honestly. With
Oh, yeah. I know exactly who this is.
He wasn't great last year, but he was much better.
Oh, my God. This is, oh, my God. I know exactly who it is. Oh, my God. It's, Corbin.
Yes, Patrick Corbin. And then 2 others, former teammates of Bassitt, or 2 and 3 on this list.
Gosman?
Yep. Some of the Blue Jays, they just like these durable guys.
You know, makes some sense. And another...
Gosman's 3rd, Cease is 1st. So they've got the top 3 now. The top 3 games started over the last 5
Maybe that's what you should be pursuing. Although they gave up the one guy.
They lost the World Series. Why would
if
you want to lose the World Series?
That's a good point, right? That's exactly what you should do. Barrios?
Yes, Barrios. Cease, Barrios, Gosman are 1, and then Webb 4th. Bassitt is 7th, and then former Orioles 8th on the list, 151 starts over the last 5 seasons. I don't think he's going to start any more games.
Kyle Gibson?
No.
Oh. I don't think it's Cole Irvin.
No. He was on the Orioles last year.
Oh, Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton has the 8th
right.
most starts over the last 5. Gallen is 9th.
Okay.
And then Mitch Keller's 10th to round up the top 10.
Very good. Very good. Well done. Here's what's coming up tubular-wise. Tubular. Oh, we already give it all the sponsors. All of the sponsors bring you Totally Tubular today. Towson tonight taking on Stony Brook, 7 o'clock on Monumental. It's also on Flow Sports. Say hi to Griffin. He's going to get his hockey jersey. UMBC's at Maine, 6 o'clock on ESPN+. NBC Sports Network for the Maryland women. It's Sailor Poffenbarger bobblehead night. They take on Penn State at 7. Still to come today, Olympics-wise, the first game for USA men's ice hockey, 3:10 against Latvia on USA. And USA South Korea women's curling at 3:05. Did you see this morning that the U.S. men's curling team got their ass kicked so bad they put a 54-year-old in to curl?
No.
In the last end, they apparently.
I'm getting yelled at, so I gotta go.
Oh, you gotta go. You got a thing to do. All right. Anything else?
The Pit, the Traders. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Everything else, GlennClarkRadio.com. Thanks today to Paul Cantabene. Thanks to Patrick Stevens. Thanks also to Kevin Pillar. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Tyler Perry will be on cable tonight.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. No show tomorrow, but join me tomorrow night on WBAL. No show unless, something happens, that is. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. We'll see you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend. Go Towson, go UMBC, go Maryland women. Duke sucks.
Sorry about that, Dare. How's it going? show went too long. I'm sorry about that.
I mean, I've shot firearms before.
It looks like we're getting a deal with a place called the Country. Have you ever heard of that?
Derek, can you hear me?
It's in Oe. It's really cool. It's in Oe. It's like a country club.
Okay.
shooting.
All right. Good.
Is it
Sorry about that.
Like a range or like
yeah,
seat
it's
shooting?
an indoor range, and it's beautiful. They've got bars, which you can't go to the bar that shoot. It's got a whole
All right, and then
area.
Corby
It's got
should be-
memberships, or you can just walk in.
Okay, you want to start?
It's
You want to start?
freaking
Eddie?
beautiful. And you
Just go ahead and
they
jump
even
right
have
in.
archery ranges. They have shooting ranges, and it's like super high-end stuff. And they're gonna be doing
Okay.
a deal, and we're gonna be able
Okay, got it.
They want us to come out and shoot.
Okay. I'll do that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
I've only ever shot twice.
I shot a few times, but not much more. They train you. They do the whole.
Yeah, I went to the place up in like Jarrettsville once.
There's one in Cockeysville.
There's the big one in Cockeysville, obviously.
This one. This
really
one.
in Timonium, right? Isn't the
This
that-
one makes that. Yeah. This one makes that one look small.
Okay. All right. Looks like he's in the way.
And they've got this archery range with like fake deer running across it.
That's
Just
maybe.
That's why.
Corby, are you there? Can you hear us? There he is. Good. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Appreciate you joining us. All right, so we're about to jump right into it and get started. The way we're gonna start it's gonna be just Dara on the screen. I will like highlight her video, so you'll be off to the side. You don't have to worry about hitting anything on your end. And then she'll do her introduction. She'll introduce you, and then I'll add you in, have you guys side by side, and you'll have your conversation. Should be good. Should be simple. Yep. All right. Cool. All right, we're about to get started there. Derek, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Derek? Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. I kicked you out. I obviously do not want to do that. All right, now we'll